Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Light Sports Ramble. I am Troy Otradovic, joined with Evan Watallison on this wonderful Friday afternoon. Evan, finally Friday, and you know what? I'm glad that you have full access to your phone and you're able to use it completely. So, I'm just glad that you have that opportunity.
Yeah. I think I am as well. I had a couple late home visits that I thought I was going to run late to the show because one of my students' parents was just talking and talking and talking and talking. So yeah.
Don't you like that? And I know for a while you were telling me there that you weren't going to be answering your phone, but you should be able to answer your phone now that the news came out of Cleveland.
Oh yeah, that too. I was sending most of my calls to voicemail because the Browns kept calling me wanting to do an interview constantly, and I just kept sending it to voicemail. But now that they hired a guy, I can thankfully answer phone calls again.
That's great. That's great. You were in. How did it make you feel being like number 50 on the list? Was that okay with you, or is that why you ignored him?
Well, I didn't want to be on the list, period. That's all I was just saying. I could have been number one on the list, and I still would have ignored it. But anyways, best of luck to the guy that they hired. I hope they actually give him a shot to succeed rather than just firing him after less than 1 year. Yeah,
well, rumor has it it's a 5-year deal, so we'll see how long that 5 years actually lasts. So, I do. Best of luck to him. I mean, that organization has been pretty unorganized, disorganized, not doing much lately, so we'll see if
I would use another word if I could, but we don't want to use that word on the air.
Yeah, we're a G-rated show.
Half lines of truck.
Yeah, we're a G-rated show. We do have younger people that listen, Evan, so we got to keep it calm. But with that said, we're going to continue on with our Packers series. Today we are grading out the defensive line. And we have 7 players on the roster that are listed as defensive linemen, defensive tackles. And we'll talk about the free agents, the ones that are free agents, and how we're going to move forward next year. As I was researching today, Evan, the one thing that really stood out to me, and you can't just blame the defensive line, but through the first 7 games, Evan, we were only allowing 84 yards a game rushing. And then it just all fell apart. And so when you look...
put it all on the defensive line, actually.
Well, I know we got to get to push. But there's also a lot of missed tackles at the line by our linebackers that allowed longer runs.
There definitely was a push, but the problem was a lot of the D linemen in running situations looked like they were on rollerblades. They just got pushed back. Yeah,
I mean, it started off so well. It started off great, and then it just went kaput. And I'm sure we'll talk about it individually. Oh, again, I'm trying to be nice today. It's Friday. Light Sports Ramble. Want to be nice to people. Don't want to get too. I don't want to get too crazy. Getting all on people, but it was horrendous. The last half of the season was just horrendous. So let's get right into it. And I have them listed. I'll go through the list. There's 7 players we want to talk about. And I just went down the roster and kind of alphabetically. So let's start with Mike Daniels. And the reason I'm going to start with Mike Daniels, Evan, is because he led the defense. He led the defensive line with 23 tackles. So of all 7 players, Mike Daniels led the D-line with 23 tackles, 17 solo, 6 unassisted, also had 6.5 sacks, which led defensive linemen, and he also had 4 tackles for loss, which also led all defensive linemen. So I want to start with a positive, the guy that led the D-line in all the major categories. So take it away, bud. How'd you think Mike Daniels played?
Well, I think you remember when we were talking wide receivers, I said there was only 2 A's I was going to give out. And, Mike Neal would get the second one. Not Mike Neal. Mike Daniels is getting the second one. I grade him at an A-. He was the only impact player, really, the D-line had the whole season long. He had to get some more playing time when Jolly went down. And, he didn't do the greatest, but he has a motor that never stops. He was the only D lineman that consistently got pressure on the quarterback. He consistently got pressure in the backfield. When all the other D linemen looked like they were doing the Texas two-step or the salsa dance or the waltz, whatever, Daniels was busting through his guy, getting into the backfield. And the knock on him when he got drafted is he's only like 6 foot tall, 295. So he's very small for a 3-4 defense. But he just does the job, and he never stops. His motor never quits. So I got to give him an A-.
I didn't quite give him an A. And like I told you, maybe I'm just a Scrooge. And maybe I'm just that, well, I won't say the word. Maybe I'm that guy. I gave him a B+, though. I really believe of all 7 players, he was the one guy that I thought was reliable. He was the guy, like you said, that when he stepped on the field, you knew, whether or not he made a play, that he was going to be giving 100%. And you and I are both from the same mindset. We want football players, guys that are going to have a motor, guys that are going to go out, have a passion to play. I see that in Mike Daniels. 6.5 sacks from his position. Not great, but again, too, he wasn't a full-time starter.
Well, it's a 3-4, too. D linemen don't get huge sack numbers.
Oh, exactly. But I like the pressure he got. And so I really believe that this is a guy that's going to really be in the mix on that defensive line in the upcoming years. I like what he did. Again, he led the defensive linemen position-wise in the 3 major categories that I looked at. Tackles, sacks, and
he's close to leading the team in sacks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't have the stats up, but I believe he was 3rd on the team, but I think he was only like maybe 2 sacks behind. But I really like what he brought to the table. And, another full season, OTAs, training camp. This is a guy that I think next year can really solidify that defensive line that is going to look totally different next year with the free agents that we have. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to bring to the table. So let's move into the position that when he got in more, Johnny Jolly, who, of course, everybody knows, had made a huge mistake in his personal life, and he served his time, and the Packers gave him another chance. And when they signed him, I was okay with the signing. And when he got on the field, I was even better with it because it's almost like he was playing with a chip on that shoulder to prove to everybody that he still belonged in the NFL. And so, take it away, bud. What'd you think of Johnny Jolly?
I don't think it's a coincidence that when he started getting banged up is when the defensive line started suffering and stopping the run. I don't think it's any coincidence. I think when he started, he was playing through injuries until he finally had the one that put him on IR. But when he started getting dinged up a bit, that's when they struggled stopping the run. I don't think that's any coincidence. Plus, he's nasty. He has an attitude. He's vocal. He's a leader. And, he may not, dominate the stat sheet, but he's one that busts his butt and, plays hard every play. And he's one that I was very close to, jumping up to that A, but I'm going to give him a B+. His leadership was greatly missed after he got hurt.
I gave him the same grade, bud, B+. So I got 2 linemen with B+ right now. Johnny Jolly, I can't say enough about this man coming back to the Packers. And from a personal standpoint, I am so happy that he turned his life around. Maybe that's what it took. And sometimes that's what it takes for people to really be down and out and have nothing and then get another chance. I really believe that he should be considered for Comeback Player of the Year if he's eligible for it, which he should be. He was on that line, and like you're saying, kind of to contradict a little bit about the stats, I know he's not going to have major stats, but had he been healthy for the whole year and finished out the year, Mike Daniels had 23 tackles. Johnny Jolly was second with 21. And so the thing...
I didn't think he had quite that many.
Well, when you look at it, I actually, to be honest, I thought when I was going through, I wasn't surprised at that, because the one thing with Johnny Jolly that you're going to get is that he's always going to pursue the ball. He is the guy that is going to be pursuing the ball, and that's what makes him a valuable commodity on that D line, because in the 3-4, you need guys like that are going to constantly be attacking the ball carrier. And that is what he did. Now, my concern is, and he came back to the NFL, Packers gave him a chance, but he is a free agent. And so I hope he's back in Green Bay. What are your thoughts on this, Evan?
I think
Do you think any other team, though, is going to go out and take a chance on him? I mean, I know he had the injury at the end of the year. Go ahead.
I think he's back in Green Bay. I think it all depends on the injury. But I don't see, I see him being grateful for the opportunity the Packers gave him. And I see him giving the Packers that hometown discount, because they didn't have to give him another chance. They could have said, sorry, so sad, and, we're not going to bring you back. Sorry, buddy. Get to the curb. They could have done that, but they didn't. So I think he is very thankful for that, and I think he wants to be back if he is cleared to play, medically, and I think he's back with the Packers.
I hope you're right. I really believe that we need to see Johnny Jolly in that lineup.
Won't demand a lot of money.
No, I think he'll be affordable, and like you said, I kind of agree with you. I think after what happened to him and the loyalty that the Packer organization showed to him, that he's going to show that same loyalty back. What I'd like to see is give him a multi-year deal now that he came back and proved that he can do it. Now, I'm not saying to break...
He was a Jolly Green Giant.
Yeah, well, you and I joked. Remember, I joked, I hope we don't have to see Johnny Jolly dance anymore. And then I believe your comment was, if he's doing what he did when he danced, he can keep dancing, and I agreed with you then. But he is a guy that I think can, again, help that line. So now we're looking, Mike Daniels and Johnny Jolly kind of in that same position. And, is that a good rotation? Is that what you think would happen with Mike Daniels and Johnny Jolly?
The issue with Mike Daniels is he's not an every down player in the 3-4. He's one that you put on the field in obvious pass situations in that nickel defense. Daniels isn't an every down defensive end in the 3-4. And yeah, I just said I gave him an A, but he's that's the one knock on him, and that's part of the reason why I didn't give him that A, A plus. That's why I gave him the A minus, and he's never going to be. So they need Johnny Jolly, that big run-stuffing defensive lineman. Sure. And Johnny Jolly can play the nose tackle, too.
Which he may
love Johnny Jolly at the nose.
Which is where he may need to go, because I'm now going to move into our next defensive lineman, which is B.J. Raji. And so take it away on this, bud. I can't wait to hear your assessment on this.
Next.
You're not even going to talk about the play?
You're just trying to get me angry, aren't you?
You know what?
He severely underperformed. He failed to do really anything. If this was Dancing with the Stars, he would have probably got the gold ball. He just got no push up the middle whatsoever, and he wasn't a fit to the defense. So, he needs to move on. So I'm going to answer that question now. He needs to move on and go to Tampa Bay and play in their Tampa 2 defense they're trying to install. Because I think Raji would be great in that Tampa 2, but in that Packers-based defense, he brings no value.
Well, I'm not quite as harsh on B.J. Raji. I gave him a D. I didn't give him an F. I gave him a D. His presence there, to clog up the middle, even though he didn't do much, still had to be accounted for. Had he performed like he had done in the Super Bowl run, then I thought our defense could have performed a lot better. I think on his mind, and this is, again, me being the idiot with an opinion, we all know he turned down the contract earlier in the year, and I'm glad he did. At the time, I was kind of,
Probably one of the worst contracts.
Well, and here's the thing. When I had read that, and when that had went out, remember when it went out on Twitter, and all the Packer fans are getting on Raji for not taking it and not taking it? I literally had to, well, not literally. I imaginary cut my fingers off of my hand so I didn't tweet something stupid. Look at his production since the Super Bowl year. What has he done? I'm going to let you answer that. What has he done, Evan, since the Super Bowl?
He hasn't done much of anything.
He has done, and I could have put an explicit word in there, since the Super Bowl. He has done absolutely nothing. So when I found out he turned it... What was that? I was getting all worked up.
He's done Jack.
Yeah, he's done Jack. Jack, yeah, it is what he's done. And that's what he's done. Because...
He hasn't had a sack in like 2 years.
He had no sacks this year. Here's a stat line. 17 tackles, which actually I looked at it and said, is that for real? Because I didn't think he was in 17 tackles.
Oh, that's why you gave him a D, isn't it?
Well, I gave him a D because of his size. They had to account for him. But he had no sacks again.
Yeah.
He did have 3 tackles for loss, but I think it's when they ran right into him and they couldn't go anywhere. Probably when they were run blitzing. I was not happy with his performance this year. It was the end of the straw for me with Raji. I defended him the year after. Last year is when I started getting mad, when he kept declining. So when I saw that he turned down the contract, I was actually okay with that. Because
I just thought he was an idiot for turning it down, but I was okay that he turned it down, if that makes sense.
Well, he is an idiot, because he's not even going to get that money now after the crappy year he had. He's going to get an offer somewhere.
Nope.
Because, again, you can't coach the size. But he was an idiot for not taking that money. Because he's not...
Like I said, I think he'd be great in the Tampa 2 defense, but in a 3-4, he's useless.
Yeah, so let's move on. Let's move on. We got about 12 minutes to go. Let's move on to Ryan Pickett. He's our next guy. What do you think about Ryan Pickett?
I'll be quick with him. I give him a C. Started out the season hot, did really well, but then just wore down as the season went on. He is a free agent at the end of the year. I'm okay with him coming back at a good deal, but he's just not a full-time player anymore. He's just been...
And with that said, the crazy lady people, for those listening in on YouTube, has kicked me out of the studio. She probably got mad. She probably is a BJ Raji fan. I am trying to dial in right now as we talk. So as I dial in, you can listen to...
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio.
To the wonderful lady.
Please enter your host pin. When finished, press the pound key.
So that is the crazy lady, folks, that you just listened to.
Our menu has recently changed.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
That is the crazy lady. So we were talking about Ryan Pickett. Evan had said that he would give him a C and he had wore down. Hey, welcome back, Evan.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I was still connected to my phone. All of a sudden I hear nothing.
Yeah, well, I
made my point, basically saying he had worn down, but... I wouldn't mind if he came back, but at a discounted rate and a reduced role.
Yeah, I give him a C too. So I was telling the listeners on YouTube, because as we record and talk live, they get to listen to the crazy lady when I call back in. She must have been a BJ Raji fan. She must have been mad at us because she kicked both of us out.
Yeah, you got disconnected too?
Yeah, she kicked me out first. She does not like me. She does not.
Maybe she didn't kick me out then. I just thought I got kicked out.
No, you got kicked out. It told me you were disconnected. She got mad at both of us today.
I had hung up and dialed back in.
Ah, I see. Well, this
happened before where I've been cut off and my phone doesn't hang up on me. It still says I'm It's like counting up the minutes, but it doesn't tell me anything.
Well, we're back live again. So Brian Pickett, like you, I gave him a C. I think he's, like you said, he's a free agent. He's a guy that can be a role player for us, come in, give some spot duty. I mean, his stat line wasn't bad last year, 19 tackles, but he had no sacks, 1 tackle for loss. He did have 2 passes defensed, so that was good. I mean, he's a good guy that I think can come in, be a spot player, give some guys a rest, and allow us to still have a level of play on that D-line. So let's now move on to our number 1 draft pick, Dayton Jones. Let's talk about Mr. Jones for a little bit.
I'd give him a C+. I don't know. He started off kind of slow, picked it up in the middle, and then disappeared at the end. And the reason why he disappeared is because he stopped getting a lot of playing time. Now, I don't know why he stopped getting a lot of playing time, because I'm sure the next guy we're going to do, Mr. Boyd, he got more playing time all of a sudden. I think he was a 5th-round pick this year. But Jones just stopped getting playing time. And I don't know if it's something that he did on the field, in the game and practice, or if the team just wanted to, give Boyd a better look. But I was quite disappointed they stopped giving Jones so much playing time. I like his potential. I like his frame. I like his size. And I'm calling it right now. He is going to have a huge sophomore season.
I agree with you. I think that ankle injury is what caused the slow development, because
that's what made him start out slow, with that high ankle sprain.
Well, you can't even get on the practice field with that injury, and you can only learn so much from film and a playbook. You have to get in the scheme and play the scheme. I grade him out at a C, because there were times, and I give him a C because of the inconsistency. You could tell the rookie inconsistency. There's sometimes he looked like he was totally lost out there. Now, when he was told to just rush the passer, he looked okay. And that's where I see the potential. His stat line wasn't bad for the limited play that he got. 10 tackles, 3.5 sacks. Not a bad stat line. I mean, but I saw a lot of inconsistency with him. But I'm going to attribute much of that to the early season high ankle sprain, because you just can't get on the field. And if you're not in that Dom Capers scheme, how are you going to learn it? By watching? You can, but you also have to react in that scheme and know where your gap is and actually play in your gap, which you and I complained about all year about gap discipline. But when you look at the injuries to Jones, he didn't have the playing time to get used to the system. So I think he's going to have a good year, too. I'm on board with you there, bud. And like you said, let's move into
You want to know the reason why I gave him the plus? You want to know the reason why I gave him the plus?
Why'd you give him the plus?
Because he had to play outside linebacker in a pinch in that playoff game, and he surprisingly did pretty decent there. So I had to upgrade him to a C+. I forgot to mention that, so I figured I should share it.
Yeah, I mean, he is kind of that guy that could be that tweener guy and move out there, maybe. I don't know with everything.
No, I like him at end.
Well, I like him there too. And with everything going on our line, I think we almost need him there. I just threw that out because
we don't need him to lose 30 pounds and play linebacker like somebody else did.
Yeah, I mean, I like him where he's at. I'm just saying he is on that line where if that was something that the Packers were going to do, he's a guy that could do that. I don't want him to. I just threw it out there that he could. So,
yeah,
but I like him where he's at. So, like you said, let's move in then to Josh Boyd. He was a guy that came in, got some play at the end of the year. What do you think about Josh Boyd and his future?
Meh. Didn't see enough of him to really get too excited over him. I have a hard time grading him. Like, I know you're going to talk about. I have a very hard time grading him. He didn't stand out to me, and I don't get what warranted the extended playing time that he got. He didn't do anything overly special. I think he's got a bright future, but I just didn't see anything special that warranted a huge amount of playing time. And I don't really know what to grade him at. So I guess I'm just going to have to go with incomplete for now and maybe take another look at him and, maybe change that grade later on. But I don't know.
Yeah, 2013 grade for me, incomplete. And like I had told you in the pre-show, to be honest, I didn't even think he played that much because they never called his name.
I didn't notice him.
Well, exactly. And if I don't notice somebody on defense, it's probably not a good thing. Because you want to be noticed on defense. You want to be around the ball. You want to be doing some stuff. Now, granted, I know sometimes that you're asking people to just fill the gap to allow somebody else to make the play. But even then, you and I are, and I'll toot our own horns, we're pretty good football guys. We know a lot about football. We know the guys that are doing that dirty work. We talk about them on the Ramble. We never talked about him. We never talked about Josh Boyd at all. And so I gave him an incomplete. We'll see what happens next year. I mean, maybe he'll come in and he's probably going to have a bigger role with all of the free agents on the D-line. So we shall see what happens.
Yeah.
But that brings us to two more
So
points.
we have two guys left, right?
Yep, two guys. C.J. Wilson's the next one.
Yeah, I think that I was going to say, I think for interest of time, there's one guy I want to talk about that I think the Packers should target, in the offseason to replace the free agents. In the interest of time, I'm going to give both Wilson and Worthy incompletes. They were both, Worthy didn't play until the end of the season, and neither played much at all. And C.J. Wilson was inactive quite a bit, battled some injuries. He didn't play much at all either. I don't feel comfortable giving either of them a grade, so I'm going to go incomplete.
Yeah, well, I went incomplete on Worthy, so we don't really need to talk about him. We'll see how he comes back next year if he can get on the field. C.J. Wilson, I did give a D. I thought he played enough for me to actually evaluate him, and I think he needs to step it up. If he's going to be part of that D-line, he needs to step it up. I didn't think, he did enough. I mean, he, like you said, there's a reason that he was inactive, and I think it was partly because of his play. And so I gave C.J. Wilson a flat-out D and put him in there.
He was slowed by a foot injury, though.
Yeah, I know he was slowed by a foot injury, but when he was out there, I was not happy with the way that he performed. We talked about gap discipline. He was one that I never saw a good gap discipline from on that D-line. And so he's got a lot to fix next year and a lot to prove to me. So moving forward, just over 2 minutes, what do we got to do in the future, Evan? What are we doing for next year to make this D-line better, to get it where it was in the first 7 games of the year? What has to happen?
Well, there's one guy in this year's draft, and we have a special guest coming out on Thursday of next week. His name is Dan Hope. He's been covering the Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama all week, and he's going to talk about some guys that he saw at the Senior Bowl that the Packers could target. But one guy I'm very high on is Rashid Hagelman. He's 6'6", 318 pounds. He's from the University of Minnesota, and he is just a beast.
90 seconds.
He is extremely hard to block. He's always getting into the backfield. And watching Wisconsin when they played Minnesota, Wisconsin had a very hard time, blocking him, and they couldn't really run up the middle at all. And he just controlled that middle of the field. He'll be a D end in a 3-4, and he can bat a lot of balls with his frame. But they need to draft him. They need to
60 seconds.
Back, and they need to continue to develop Jones and continue to develop Daniels, and the D-line should be fine.
Well, when I look at that, that sounds like a great prospect. I know the name. I can't give an evaluation of him. I haven't looked at him, but I definitely think that they need to reach out in the draft and get somebody. And we talked about this, before when we were talking about the Badgers in the NFL. I like those big guys. We need to get somebody of that stature on that line. We need some of that big size in a green and gold uniform next year. I totally agree with that. So with that said, hope everybody tunes in tomorrow, as tomorrow is actually the Red Light Rant, where Evan and I are going to actually talk about some things that have grinded our gears this week. We're not going to give away our secrets, but we'll see you at the next Red Light. Hope everybody enjoys the weekend.